Okay, we are back. We had so much fun last time. We're going to do it yet again. This is the third time. And the last time was pretty charming, but this one certainly, hopefully, maybe will be. And we've actually branded this something. This is called HAF Reacts now. Normally at HAF, we plan things out in great detail, excruciating detail. But this one, we are very much flying by the seat of our pants. And Samir and Raj are back. And today we are going to talk about the overwhelming amount of anti-Indian, anti-Hindu sentiment that we've seen, both in the run-up to SB 509 and the vote, which happened since the last time, not the vote, the veto that happened, same letters, since we recorded last, and just in general. What we're going to do is I'm going to bring up a whole bunch of screenshots, images, and we're going to comment on them because there's a lot of great, meaning awful stuff out there. So let's kick it off with a great tweet from Mr. Pritpal Singh. Samir, Raj, you can see that?
My eyes are old and my eyes are a little weak, so maybe if you want to read it off for our viewers.
I mean, I will read it off. I just want to get the technical side down first. Okay, so this tweet, this missive from Pritpal Singh came out before SB 509. And for those that are just happen to be listening to this, it says, when foreign proxies try to silence voices on U.S. soil, it's not just harassment, it's an attack on the First Amendment itself. In addition to Sikh Americans, Audrey Trushke, who has an event at Rutgers next week, which proves to be interesting. Audrey Trushke has also been a target of Indian proxy networks operating on American soil. The Fremont Gurdwara Sahib, a Sikh American house of worship, has filed a formal complaint against HAF. The grammar's wrong, but there we go. Has filed a formal complaint alleging HAF violated Foreign Agent Registration Act with a link. Here's an informative Hindi language discussion about the Fremont Gurdwara's investigation into HAF's potential law violations. Someone, I think in one of our chats, pointed out that they think this is total Chat GPT, probably citing the overuse of the M dash. For those that not up on that discussion and figuring out what Chat GPT writes, it really likes the M dash, which really pains me as a writer because I love it, but not to be
There's another
overused.
thing that is kind of a tell, and I see it all over the place. This Pritpal guy is like not the only one who's done this. That's the first sentence. It's not X, it's Y. Like it's not just harassment, it's an attack. That's not democracy, that's authoritarianism. I mean, I am so sick of that line. I wish ChatGPT would just, stop, because I see it everywhere. Everyone uses it. It's the one thing that unifies us, I guess, at this point.
We all hate the way ChatGPT writes. OpenAI, take note. Okay, but in seriousness, not talking about craft here. What's wrong with this? What is just what's wrong? It's something. The first thing I can say is that I don't think they actually filed a formal complaint. They have complained, but they haven't filed a complaint. At least we haven't been told about it.
I mean,
Right?
they wrote a letter. And they had an exhibits, and the exhibits included some YouTube videos they had in a special folder with that were taken from Indian news, some dating back, quite a long time ago, and a bunch of the greatest hits from the various characters that we've been talking about for a long time. And it's like, okay, has Bondi called you, Samir? I haven't heard from her yet.
Not to best of my knowledge, but I could be wrong. But just kind of for everyone's knowledge, this was basically an alleged complaint or request for investigation by the Department of Justice into HAF by a Fremont Gurdwara, as saying that basically HAF is violating the Foreign Agent Registration Act by acting as a unregistered agent of the Indian government. There's absolutely no credibility or substance to that. And, these are the type of things that you just throw at the wall, see what sticks. And when nothing sticks, you just keep reciting it because it just basically all people will see is that, oh, look, somebody is complaining against HAF that they violated FARA. And so that's enough for people just to believe that, therefore, we are all foreign agents. So it's much ado about nothing. I mean, basically, you might as well just, ask for dance troupes that work with the Consulate General of San Francisco and do performances to be investigated as foreign agents, because they have the same type of interaction with the consulates that basically we or any other community member does. Maybe next time I go to try to get a visa to India and show up at the consulate, maybe I should be investigated as a proxy as well. So,
I think if you're a
again,
proxy, you could probably get your visas easier. It's
yeah,
a process
exactly.
sometimes.
Despite the fact that it's been rejected previously, but we won't get into that. Besides that issue here, I think, first of all, he needs to refresh his understanding of how the First Amendment actually works. First Amendment protects Americans against government restriction of freedom of speech and freedom of religion. It has nothing to do with what other American citizens or residents say or criticize others, which we fully have the right to do. So our criticism of Audrey Truschke, of the Khalistan lobby, as I like to call it, or anyone else for any other reason is fully within our rights. And there's nothing that we're doing that has anything to do with the First Amendment or violation of the First Amendment. We can't violate anyone's First Amendment rights, first of all. Secondly, what we're saying is merely criticism. So in Mr. Preetpal Singh's opinion, basically anybody that challenges their narrative, anybody that criticizes the Khalistan movement is now all of a sudden, number one, violating the First Amendment, apparently, and number two, again, is a proxy of the Indian government, which again goes back to our whole point, is that that's the whole reason we oppose SB 509, is because these people keep accusing us of being foreign agents, and the more they perpetuate that narrative and the more they tell government officials, law enforcement, and others that our criticism is the equivalent of being a proxy, then the more that these institutions are going to use those narratives and treat us in that particular way. And so that is exactly the whole reason that we oppose that bill in the first place. Thankfully, common sense prevailed, and Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed it. But they keep perpetuating this narrative, and we've seen like a flurry of these accusations coming left and right against the Hindu American community for no other reason that we counter their hateful Khalistani narratives.
Okay, there we go. Let's go on, because we've got some others prior to SB 509 that are worthwhile viewing. The next ones are going to come up from somebody I had not heard of before, but seems to actually make a living trolling online. He actually has a book about it. Well, I'll show you that in a little bit. But this is from Matt Forney. Everyone can see that. Matt Forney, he's the real Matt Forney, by the way, not just a fake one. The Hindu American Foundation, which is currently lobbying Gavin Newsom to veto SB 509, parentheses, which would empower California state and local police to fight transnational repression, is a front organization for the Indian government. They are likely not registered under FARA arrest. We're not registered under FARA, and Matt could actually look this up. It takes all... I don't know now because the government shut down, but prior to the shutdown, you could go online and find out whoever is registered for FARA. It takes all 10 minutes at the most. He wants us arrested, and he's got a link below to some negative report about us. I can't tell what this is. Can you guys figure this out? I think this might be... I'm not sure what this is.
They retweet a lot of Khalistan stuff.
Okay, well, whatever this is. So here's one from Matt. Just take that in. Let me show everyone the next one, just to give you a taste of this man before we comment on it.
I thought he was Peter Friedrich, because they kind of look similar.
No, they don't look similar. Do you know what Peter? Well, in any case, let's just leave it at that. Hold on. Is this the same one? Oh, no, it's down on my list. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm doing this on the fly. This one is directed at Suhag, our executive director, explicitly. Suhag couldn't be here today. I'm sure she would love to talk about this. If you're not an agent of the Indian government, Suhag, why are you so opposed to a law that is intended to prevent foreign governments from harassing American citizens and residents? You are lying. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go.
If you're not a witch, then why would you object to having some witch trials? Like, maybe you should just dunk yourself in water and prove to us that you don't sink.
Yeah.
But he goes on to say, you're lying. You're on Modi's payroll, registered under FARA before you end up like Maria Butina, who actually I don't know who it is. I don't know who she is. Samir, you're
Yeah.
going to go what?
I love Raj's analogy much better. I was going to say that, hey, well, if you're not a criminal, why do you care about due process, right? I mean, it's kind of the same equivalent, right? We shouldn't want any due process protections unless we're criminals and we're breaking the law or we intend to break the law. But first of all, maybe Matt or Raj, if you can just explain, I don't know if all of our audience actually knows who Matt Forney is.
I had never heard of him before, but just to set the context before I don't even know if we have to talk about it, because maybe I can just drop this context about what this man has done and how he makes his living, which is basically just trolling online. And I went to Amazon and found his author page. Up here, we have this image of him. Peter Friedrich, who's also a hater of HAF, does not actually really look like him. But here we go. Let's go through his author page, because this is some genius level stuff here. He has a book called Do the Philippines.
Wow.
Do the
Oh
Philippines,
my.
How to Make Love with Filipino Girls in the Philippines. This is supposed in the United States. Life During Peacetime, I'm not sure what that is. Big Lovin', the
Oh
guide for
my.
picking up fat chicks. That's a really good one.
That only got 2 stars. I mean, the Filipino book got like 3.5, it looks like, right?
You know what? I'm going to spare people and keep me from having to restrict this video online, because I've actually gone to see his tips in this, not in the book, but on the page, his summary of it, talking about the qualities of Filipino women. He has this is the one: Trolling for a Living, the best of Matt Forney, Volume 1, and Confessions of an Online Hustler: How to Make Money and Become an Internet Superstar. So I'm going to close that out, and let's just talk about Matt Forney, because I think he's indicative of something that we saw around this. There were a lot of people that really did not care about Hindus or Sikhs, all of a sudden came out of the woodwork with SB
I mean,
519.
most people like you know, I mean, one kind of observation, let's call it that, that I would have for Indian people from India is sometimes they might overestimate how concerned non-Indians are with their various affairs. And I think, you know, Matt and all of that Forney guy and a lot of these others that you see online, I mean, what they've discovered is, you know, you suddenly have a ton of Indians coming online. They share the same social media ecosystem as we do. Many of them speak, not many of them, not all Indian, but many of them speak English. And now you have it, and they also can have a lot of issues that, you know, can trigger them. And so you have a situation where you have actually a lot of financial incentives to kind of push a lot of content, right? It gets rewarded because, you know, you post something that Indians are dirty people who poop on the streets, and then a bunch of Indians are going to get mad, boosted up, and then a bunch of racists are going to come and be like, yeah, Indians are a bunch of street shitters. And then it just keeps on going on, and it keeps encouraging kind of more and more extreme. And, you know, between the people who are racist, the people who want to make money, the people who have various agendas, you know, involving India or Hindus or what have you, it just becomes this like kind of perfect storm. And that's what we're seeing. It's a perfect shitstorm.
No pun intended. Yeah, you know, this Matt Forney guy, whether he's you know, just a professional troll or he's a racist or some kind of, you know, white Christian nationalist or a combination of all the above, the funny thing is that he's actually become, and him and many similar handles have actually become favorites for the Khalistan lobby on social media. They love to retweet his stuff and people like him, as if it gives them some stamp of approval to go back and say, yeah, see these dirty Hindus and these like foreign proxies and agents of the Indian government, how bad they are. Something needs to be done with them. And so you see kind of it's this weird kind of circle where these guys like the Matt Forneys and these racists are retweeting the Khalistan lobby, and then the Khalistan lobby is retweeting these guys. So it's an incestuous circle of hatred all directed against Hindus.
It is something incestuous. That sounds like a book. I mean, I'm surprised Matt Forney hasn't gone down to the incest route, considering his other books.
That's his next novel, I guess.
Next novel. I'm not going to even come up with a title for that. Okay. Share. Let's see what else we got. Let's go to... Oh, here's a good one. Well, we're just going to start here. No, I'm sorry. It's a little bit hard to pick one. I want to get one of these about the Hanuman statue. Let me find. Is this one? Let me look. Here we go. Let's start with this one. Okay. So
Why?
just to give people an idea, in Texas, there is this rather large Hanuman statue. And this is indicative for people who are saying, why are we allowing a false statue of a false Hindu god to be here in Texas? We are a all caps Christian nation. It's actually a real statue. It's not false. Sorry, I'm feeling very pedantic about these people today. At least get your hatred and grammar right, I guess. Let's see, is this one? Here's another one from Alexander Duncan. Oh no, sorry, I brought up the same one again. It was just a different thing and my preview wasn't showing it properly. Maybe we can. No. Oh, here's another one. By Lucky Teeter, the MAGA Hulk. Do you really plan on putting an even bigger statue to Gishnu in Ohio if elected? This was directed at Vivek Ramaswamy, specifically, who's running. Formerly ran to be the Republican nominee for president, and now is running in for more governor of Ohio. For those that don't know, if you've come across this randomly, Gishnu is actually not a Hindu form of the divine. What else do we have on this one? There's one that I particularly like, Raj, that I know, I think you, for those that don't know, you wouldn't know, Raj is the collector of all of these online. Here's another one from Alexander Duncan again. I'm just calling it what it is. It's an idol, quote, and then he goes on to quote Exodus and Romans. Why don't one of you hold forth on this while I try to find the one where Hanuman's looking really buff, frankly. I want to find it. I don't know
I
if I
mean,
have it saved.
I
Oh, here
just
it is.
keep
Keep going.
imagining all of these people, just like, like Charlton Heston at the end of Planet of the Apes. Like, what was that? What did he say? He's on the beach and he sees.
I'm not an animal, he says.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, he's at the beach and he sees like, what have you done? Like,
That.
at the end of the movie, right? And it's just like, it's like, are they getting triggered by it? Like, I don't know. I mean, this is a thing that's been going on. Like, someone builds a Hanuman statue, then, it's in Texas, it's in, somewhere in Canada, Ohio, whatever. And then a bunch of people are like, oh, it's, oh my God, how dare you do this? And, like, it's just what's going on is before a lot of us probably came here, you're like, okay, let's kind of fit in, assimilate, do whatever we're doing, and if we behave like everyone else, then we'll be rewarded, right? Now, and like, if we have our rights here, everything is fine as long as we don't cause trouble. And then the natural reaction for a lot of people who kind of have the mentality is be like, oh God, why would they build this Hanuman statue? Why should they, get all this, attention? And it's like, you know what? They have the freaking right to do that. Like, who gives a shit? Honestly, like, build whatever statues you want. Like, as long as you follow like your local permits, you build it safely, whatever. I mean, like, come on, get a freaking life.
Yeah,
Honestly.
this is on land owned by the Hindu community, right? And so I don't see what the problem is. I mean, I've seen like statues of the Virgin Mary and other statues on land owned by churches. So I don't see what the problem is if Hindus want to exercise their rights and build, statues of Hindu deities on their own properties, or temple property. As Raj mentioned, that's within our purview and our right. I think what it does though is that they don't want Hindus to be too openly Hindu, right? As long as you quietly practice, you keep your head down and you don't rock the boat and you kind of stay in your place, right? Can't become too successful, can't become too much involved in politics. You can't be, flaunting your religion everywhere, kind of putting it out there. Otherwise, oh my God, now you need to be put back on a boat and deported out here. And why do we have these demon worshippers in our country, right? So basically, stay in your place, little brown man, and everything will be fine.
And that's the message, just to be clear, we're getting not only from, say, kind of these crazies, here in the US, but we also get it from other Indians. Indians back in India who are like, oh, why should you be doing all of these things? You should just be, quiet. Why are you gathering like this? You're causing bad problems for us. It's like, no, like, it doesn't matter whether you act very assimilated or you act like you're just fresh off the boat. Like, the thing is, if someone doesn't want you in the country because they're racist, they don't want you in the country. Ask Dinesh D'Souza. He's a Christian. He's shat on India so many times. Yeah, look at how people talk to him.
It's true about Dinesh. I've not thought highly of him. A number of things he said. I haven't actually seen anything recently, so let's hold comment on that. I thought I had one queued up about him, but I don't. But as Raj was talking, I was bringing up the one. There was one about my father or grandfather didn't fight in World War II for this to happen, and it showed a temple. And then we have this one from Megan Basham talking to Christians in general. It's okay not to want this. It's okay to say, how about we don't have immigration policies that result in this? And she links to an NBC News story about how this BAPS Mandir in New Jersey, which is the largest temple outside of India, it has been open. It's been open for a while. So she's reaching back here, but there we go.
Yeah, and sorry,
Let's
just
see.
to
Yeah,
add
go.
to that, kind of just connecting all the hate that we've been getting. Raj mentioned Indians in India, but we see that here too, right? You see, again, going back to the Khalistan lobby, because they all want to say, "Hey, we're not those dirty Hindus. We're something better and superior, etc." So they love sharing this kind of hatred towards Hindus and further perpetuating it. Like the average, racist is going to know the difference between them and us, right? I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are idiots.
Yeah, it's true. Uh, my mind started going to being accused of making up Hindu phobia or anti-Hindu bias incidents, but let's not go there. I just remembered I have this one pulled up, which goes back to something that Raj said earlier. Let's take a look. This is from Daniel DiMartino, who I don't know who he is. I heard from many commentators that Indians bring horrible cultural practices to America, specifically public defecation. Apparently, this guy and he decided to request this racial breakdown, a public defecation in the most famous city for it, San Francisco. Let's get the truth. They're from the Manhattan Institute. Interesting. Okay. They're making a California Public Records Act request for
Well, so
this is go ahead. Go.
this is an interesting thing because, having been a former resident of the Bay Area, I have long sort of commented on how the fact that open defecation was something that, was one of the defining features of San Francisco to me. There's a San Francisco poop map. You can Google it. It'll show you all of the poop incidents. And, it's really sad because kind of, like in other places with open defecation problems, I mean, it's really expensive. You can barely find any public bathrooms because, like, even at the Starbucks, they don't want to open them up because they're like, oh, they're afraid you just shoot up fentanyl in there or whatever. They even have but it was even stupid. I don't know if it's changed now, but last time I was there, it's like they had one of those automated bathrooms, public bathrooms, and then they freaking close it. Like, what's the point of having an automated bathroom if like it has to be closed? It's like, no, like you got to take a shit, like go, like that's the whole point. So it's like you have a big homeless population, and they don't have anywhere to go, so they're gonna go. It's not Indians doing it.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, back when I lived in Manhattan, I remember walking out outside my house, right around the corner, and somebody was taking a shit right between two cars. It was a great way to wake up the day. But Samir, maybe you can talk to this. I mean, because this street shitter thing has been an epithet thrown at Hindus and Indians for a long time. I see you smiling. You really want to talk about street shitting, don't you?
No, when you started that comment about when you walked outside your door in Manhattan and you saw somebody shitting, I thought you were going to say when you walked out your door in the morning, you went and took a shit in between two cars.
I have not. Oh my God. Maybe we cut this, but I have shit in the woods, but I have not. I actually have this
Camping.
little.
I mean, like,
No, I know. And for those that don't know, you can get these to bring it to washing, not wiping. You can get these little portable bidets that are awesome for such things. So you don't have to actually throw or bury toilet paper and carry it with you, and it takes forever to decompose, and it's way cleaner.
oh, see, we used to do what we called Easter egg hunts in school. So, like when I was in middle school, high school, we would go on camping trips, right? To out into like the wilderness, and then like we would have a latrine that we'd bring with us. It was like kind of it's big, right? And at the end of the trip, we would I forget how it was selected, but it was some like kind of drawing straws or some type of thing, and you had to go on the Easter egg hunt, which was basically you had to go around the campsite to find any type of any type of fecal matter, and then pick it up and put it in the wastebasket so that we leave the place cleaner than we arrived. You know, like that this was the whole thing that we had to do.
I fear that we're actually feeding into the fact that Hindus, although I'm white, I am a Hindu, like actually pooping outside and like doing it.
Oh no, I
But
waited until I got home. Like I didn't. Hell no. Like no, I don't like fuck that. Like no.
I know. Okay, so we're all laughing because it's fun to say the phrase "street shitter," but it's a real thing. I mean, this is an epithet that's thrown at Indians, and it goes back to the fact that it's improved, but there's a lack of sanitation. There's a lack of sanitary facilities in rural India in particular, and it has nothing to do with preference for doing this. It's just that everyone poos. Everyone saw that book. Everything poops, and it's not a preference. It's a necessity for these people. And no one's bringing that to the United States. It's utter, God, I was about to say bullshit, but then
So this is something that there have been papers, for example, that have tried to say that the reason why India has an open defecation problem is because of Hindus, because they don't want to, they have their purity or like whatever type of, you know, reasoning that they go through. But really what they don't really talk about is like, first of all, you know, when they tried to build, you know, some toilets in, you know, in rural India, but they didn't have running water. So it's like, so now you're building a latrine. You're building something that basically has to be cleaned out. And it's like, do you need to be Hindu and believe in like whatever it is that they think that Hindus believe in order to not want to clean out a latrine when you could rather just like, you know, not, right? I mean, so when you're trying to, you know, build up an economy and improve public sanitation, if you don't have like, you know, running water, if you don't have sewage systems, if you don't have like trash collection and all these municipal services, which is something that a lot of Indian cities have struggled with. And if you look at the open defecation rates of India, like well into the 2000s, well into the 21st century, it's pretty bad. And I find it so convenient to say like, it's because Indians are Indian and they have their Indian culture or they're Hindus, instead of saying like, maybe you just have a shitty government. Maybe you just have a shitty, corrupt government that is really shitty at building basic infrastructure.
There's a lot of shit in that.
Yeah, there's a box on YouTube that I'm going to have to check that I normally don't after this conversation.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, and that'll be my last comment on this. Then I'm going to get off. I'm going to get off the throne. For another pun.
Well done.
Intended. Is that, yeah, if it's, you know, there's all people just throw out all these like epithets, but don't realize the connections or the lack of connections. So allegedly it's a Hindu issue or an Indian issue, yet arguably the most Hindu nationalist prime minister in India made it one of his main priorities is to improve sanitation and increase the prevalence of public toilets. He's a Hindu. You know, and according to others, he's a Hindu nationalist. So, you know, but why would he do that then if it's such a Hindu cultural thing? Why would he be, you know, trying to improve that when it's actually just a lack of governance for decades across multiple governments that this has been an issue? You know, but now I guess for me saying this, not only am I a street shitter, but I'm also a foreign proxy and a Modi spokesperson. So I give up.
I mean, this comes down to it's a development issue. No one likes
exactly.
that. Everyone wants a really nice toilet. Everyone. I have one
toilet
more.
washlets, you know.
Oh yeah, you can't go once you have one of those. You can't go back. I don't have one now. I did used to have a very nice toilet.
We're talking a lot about toilets and shitting.
Yeah. I know. Hold on, I've got one more to. Diwali just happened. It was the big day that everyone took off, or at least we took off, was a couple days ago. And let me find one. I've got one to close this out on about Diwali. So here we go. This is from Mr. Patrick Bishop. And I think that's Edward Norton, and I think that's American History X, although I'm not entirely sure. Every single person that celebrates Diwali should be loaded on a boat tonight and sent back to India. No exceptions.
So that includes President Trump?
Yeah. Touche.
Indeed. The president did celebrate. Or at least acknowledge.
Usha and JD can stay because they didn't celebrate Diwali at the White House.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of politicians we'd have to ship out of here too. So it's gonna be a crowded boat. There may not be room for me. Sorry guys. I'm not getting on.
Okay, so here we go. I mean, just to give you an idea of some of Patrick Bishop's other musings in the world. Apparently doesn't. I think he's actually what big surprise there. No American flags, just the Jews and their bitch Zion Dawn. So I think we actually have a full-fledged Nazi here. And there we go. I mean, I shared that because I thought it was funny to bring Edward Norton into this. But really, because this is something we saw a lot of outpouring this year. Diwali was made a state holiday in California recently and in Connecticut, both of which we were involved in to varying degrees. So kudos to us. But we saw a lot of hatred coming out, a lot of anti-Diwali sentiment in a way that, frankly, I had not seen. I've been with HAF 9 years and I've not seen this once. Have you? Either of you?
Yeah, no, I think it goes back to the idea that the more publicly visible you become as a community, the more you assert yourself, the more, hatred, pushback, and kind of retribution in a lot of senses that you face. And so, I think while majority of the people still were celebrating it, and we see, I think what's been really great and kind of wrap up on a positive note is see a lot of mainstream celebration of Diwali by not just Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, and Jains, but also many others, right? I mean, it's a holiday with a very universal positive message that many can enjoy. I mean, it's fun, right? I mean, who doesn't want to enjoy good food, have like good music, enjoy, and kind of partake in the celebrations, even if you're not part of the spiritual aspect of it, just culturally. I mean, it has so much to offer to America and just fits right in with a lot of our other holidays here. And so that's on the positive note. Of course, it does bring out the trolls and those that have resentments or hatred for whatever reason, whether they are on the far right side of the spectrum or on the far left, or are part of one of these foreign, quarrels, and they're just bringing their issues here to the U.S. And it's another reason just to hate Hindus.
Raj, you want to uplift us, bring us home?
Do I have to? Do I have to be uplifting? Okay, so I mean, in a sense, like you can look at all of these attacks as attention, and just as an indication that yes, we have become a more visible community. We're less obscure. We're taking space in politics, in business, in the media, and that that is going to start. You're not going to rise to that kind of level without attracting some kind of attention. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think the other thing to kind of keep in mind is that a lot of this is on social media. There are algorithms that incentivize this type of content. There are also a lot of other actors that have a stake in sort of pushing certain types of content. These could be anyone from private individuals to quasi-state actors to state actors, and there are all sorts of people that have an agenda that might involve Hindu or Indian Americans being kind of collateral damage, right? It's a way to incite divisions between us. It's a way to attack attack a community that's quite visible and something that, India at least has kind of seen in high regard, their US diaspora community. And so, like, I don't think, is everyone in America racist? No. Are Indians being rounded up in the streets and being shipped back to planes because some guy with an Edward Norton tweet said so? Not, no. Does that mean that we need to kind of be vigilant about protecting our rights? Absolutely. But I mean, things could be worse.
Yeah, I think what we just have to be mindful of and just kind of watch out for is that this type of rhetoric on social media, especially when it comes from so many different directions, can have a tendency to dehumanize Hindus, and it happens to others. And when you dehumanize people, that's like the first step to justifying anything that happens to them, whether it's a restriction of their rights, discrimination, or worse, hate crimes and other forms of violence. And so that these types of narratives, are problematic, even if they don't represent the vast majority of Americans, if it ends up, allowing things to happen. And I think that's where a lot of good people do stand up and speak out against these things. And most people push back against these narratives. But I think we have to be watchful, and we have to make sure that they don't take on a life of their own.
I think that's a great place to end it. Really good. Well, good that we ended it. And I think it's an important discussion to have, because this is, without exaggeration, the worst outpouring in the 9 years I've been at HAF, the worst outpouring of anti-Hindu, anti-Indian sentiment I've seen on Twitter. And we look at this all the time. It's something through the roof, to be honest. Okay.
I mean,
Go
just one last thing, if I
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
I mean, since we are formally, proxies of the Indian government, should we end on a Go Modi cheer, or how do we end this?
How about Jai Hind?
There we go. Oh, of course that's tongue in cheek, but now I get in trouble for saying tongue in cheek. So for those that
Neoliberal, yeah.
Okay, then.
Uh,
Okay, thank you guys. I'll talk to you
all
soon.
right.
so I
Bye-bye.
just like
Bye. Thank you.